Ladies and gentlemen, India in 2020 needs leaders who are outspoken. India needs leaders who have a wide horizon of knowledge. India needs leaders who are unabashedly honest. India needs leaders who are Atmanirbhar and strategical. India 2020 needs leaders who are fierce and brave. Today at BioLF, we have amidst us one such unsung hero who outwits all the qualities that India needs in the year 2020. He is often seen on television news channels giving befitting replies to anchors who try to corner him on issues that he has an expertise in. He has been one of the most important and decisive driving forces behind the success of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Please welcome the legendary Shri Ram Madhav. Shri Ram Madhav is the National General Secretary of the Bharatiya Janata Party and is also a celebrated author. Formerly, he has been a member of the National Executive Committee of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. Born in Andhra Pradesh, he was a student of engineering, has a diploma in electrical engineering, and also a postgraduate degree in political science from the University of Mysore. As General Secretary of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Mr. Madhav has been applauded for the rise of the party in the northeast of India and stitching together alliances that didn't seem fathomable. Mr. Madhav also serves as a member of the governing board of India Foundation, a New Delhi-based think tank which seeks to articulate Indian nationalistic perspective on issues of national and international importance. Mr. Madhav, as an author, has written several books in English and Telugu, with the most recent one being Uneasy Neighbors, India and China, after 50 years of war. He has written for several publications, including the Indian Express and Open magazine. He has also been the editor of the Bharatiya Pragna, a monthly magazine in English published by Pragna Bharati, and an associate editor of Jagriti. He has traveled to over 30 countries and has addressed prestigious forums like the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, the World Peace Conference at the Mahachula-Longkorn Rajavidyalaya of Thailand, Halifax Security Forum in Canada, and the second Sochi Eurasian Integration Forum in Russia, as well as the BRICS Political Forum in China, amongst many, many others. I would now like to hand over the floor to Shri Ram Madhav to enlighten us with his insightful journey in the spectrum of politics and his thoughts about the future of our country. Thank you so much for being here with us today, sir.
Thank you. And it is a great pleasure for me to be able to interact with you all through this Zoom platform. At the very outset, my sincere apologies for this almost 15 minutes delay. I got stuck in a party meeting, and right now I'm in my car going back to my place. Nevertheless, I thought I should not hold you back any longer, so I'm right now joining from my car. It's always a pleasure to interact with young minds like the group in front of me today. I generally don't like to talk about myself. I was trained in a different RSS culture, so I would probably talk more about what is happening in the country and what are going to be the priorities and challenges for our government. Right now, as you know, we are facing a twin problem, twin challenges. One challenge is, of course, on our borders, which we are tackling with diligence, with dexterity, and with determination. Why I am saying this is some of you who follow the international politics would appreciate the fact that China today follows a very aggressive politics in its diplomacy with many of its neighbors and many of the countries in its neighborhood. If you take the case of the South and East China Sea, about which you must be reading in papers, those who follow international politics must be reading in papers. In the last few years, especially under Xi Jinping's leadership, China has been acting in a very, very aggressive manner. So aggressive, just to give you one example, the aggression is so much that today the Americans, in order to emphasize on the neutrality and openness of the South China Sea as global commons, they sent 2 aircraft carriers, USS America and USS Theodore Roosevelt. And what China does is to continuously tail these aircraft. They tail them with their own, aircraft carriers and other maritime vessels. They continue, they move dangerously close to them, all this just to harass and embarrass them. No, finally, USS Theodore Roosevelt had to leave East China Sea and, rush back to Guam. If that is the kind of aggression that China is displaying with a country like America, you can imagine what it is doing to Taiwan, what it is doing to Malaysia, what it is doing to Philippines and countries like Vietnam. In fact, it sunk two ships belonging to Vietnam in the South China Sea. Vietnam could not do anything except protesting. The way we are handling China is actually giving a lot of hope to many countries in the world. We are today firmly standing up to the aggression of China on our border, along the Indo-Tibetan border, along the LAC. We are not letting China get away with encroachments in our territory. We are fighting back. In the process, we are actually sacrificing the lives, some of our valuable lives of our soldiers were lost. Yet, India today is standing up to this aggression of China. So, one challenge on the security front is being handled with, I use three words: diligence, dexterity, and determination. But for the friends in this audience, the second challenge, I believe, is equally important, if not more. That is this situation, the condition of Indian economy. Post the pandemic, the second challenge that we are facing, rather the most important challenge that we are facing today, is the economic challenge. India's economy is struggling for recovery. Now, it's one way to look at what is the roadmap for recovery in the next 6 months to 1 year, 2 quarters to 4 quarters. It's one way of looking at it. But the other way would be to look at the 10-year span of the roadmap for India's economic revival. Not just recovery, it has to revive, it has to grow into a big economy. So we are doing both now. For immediate revival, immediate recovery, we have taken a number of steps. We tried to inject 20 lakh crores into the system through second, what we described as Atmanirbhar package, etc. We are making liquidity funds available for businesses, industry to access and then undertake their revival activities. We are making all those efforts. But what India also needs is a long-term 5 to 10-year plan. Why I'm talking about this 5 to 10-year plan is that post-COVID, we are entering into a totally new world order. It is not going to be the same old world anymore. You will see new players rising. You will see new kinds of, today many countries are turning inwards. New kinds of systems emerging. Your WTO, your UN, these things will become, either they take a different shape or become irrelevant. So in that kind of a scenario, India has to now take a slightly different path. So that is where Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbharta has to be understood by us carefully. This Atmanirbharta that Prime Minister is talking about is not about shutting down our economy and taking it back to bullock cart age. No, it is actually the new, very contemporary approach of people-centric liberalism, economic liberalism. Here, Atmanirbharta is not about government. It is about every individual. If you are a businessman, you must think about how do you become Atmanirbhar? How do you stand on your own feet? So, an Atmanirbhar approach, which has 3 or 4 important components. Number one, have Atma Samman or Atma Gaurav, self-respect and self-dignity, which we call as Swadeshi. Prime Minister's call for that was vocal for local. Second is self-sufficiency. Today, India has to think in terms of having self-sufficiency in most of its day-to-day areas. I always give one example to our friends. You know, we all wear jean pants. The textile is being manufactured in India, but the zippers are being imported from Vietnam and China. I'm not asking India to produce Tesla cars, but can't we produce zippers in India? So there are many such areas where India can become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant. When Prime Minister talked about it, he gave the slogan, Make in India. But friends, for all of you youngsters, my emphasis would be on the third point, that is self-confidence. India's industry, business, entrepreneur, Indian youngster should have a global vision. Don't think local, be vocal for local, make in India, but make for the world. We have to integrate with global economy today, not just as raw material suppliers. We have to be not just the beneficiaries of global economy. We have to become a contributor to global economy, thereby benefiting our country, also emerging as important players in the world. Look at all the big countries in the world, economically strong countries in the world, whether it is America, China, Japan, Israel, all these countries rose to that economic superiority, strength, based on this idea of self-reliance in their own way, but not by cutting off from the rest of the world, but by having greater world. Today, we have supply chains that connect us with the rest of the world in terms of our economy. You should not think in terms of cutting off from those supply chains. Rather, we should become strong partner, strong member of the supply chain. So to that effect, you have to become self-reliant. So the third slogan, self-confidence, Atma Vishwas, is what Prime Minister talked about, make for the world. So when we are talking about Atmanirbharta, it's about Atma Vishwas, Atma Gaurav, Atma Samruddhi, and Atma Vishwas. Today, youngsters, whether in business, whether in industry, we need to imbibe this kind of a mindset, which is the killer instinct wala mindset, and we have to make India shine on the global platform. That is the real Atmanirbharta. This challenge has to be taken up by Indian youth. A big opportunity is waiting for India today. India's 60 crore strong middle class. It's a huge, massive market. So far, we are only looking at this market for others to come and consume it, exploit it. But have we used this market to exploit others? Exploit not in bad sense, but in the economic sense. Can we use the heft of this Indian market to create global brands that expand into the world? Countries whose population is 6 million, 8 million, 20 million have created global brands. 1.3 billion Indians, 600 million market power, we have not created such global brands. Of course, today one person is slowly emerging as a global brand, Jio. But otherwise, where are India's global brands? Atmanirbharta should mean this for youngsters in Calcutta. I hope that we look at these things from that idea of some kind of a confident, very enthusiastic young men. I appeal to all of you to look at it from that perspective. I will end my comments here, and I will be at your mercy for some time. Thank you and namaskar.
Thank you so much for that insightful line of thought, sir. Here, we would also like to know, like you mentioned, confidence. So, when you had initially joined the Sangh Parivar, at that point, as an individual who had to build alone, as an individual who is self-made, how exactly, what was the thought process when you joined? What was the thought process that led you to the Sangh? And what gave you that confidence to rise to the position that you are at today?
Fortunately or unfortunately, right from the beginning, whether it was in the RSS and subsequently in BJP, I have always been given very challenging tasks only. I was given one of the weakest districts in Andhra Pradesh to work for the RSS. It was called West Krishna district. in RSS, we have shakas, daily meeting activity. In that district, we used to have 9 shakas when I went there as RSS Pracharak. So my senior told me that, for RSS, the poverty line is 20 shakas. You should cross 20, then only you have crossed the poverty line in RSS. So that is the kind of challenge that was given to me. I take it as a blessing for me. So I was able to, basically work in such areas. When I joined, when I was made the spokesperson for the RSS, I was very young. When I was brought to Delhi to become the RSS spokesperson, I was 35, 36 years old. I mean, those days people jokingly used to say that by RSS standards, 36 is like a toddler. Those days, of course, now a lot of young blood has come into the RSS, but those days RSS means, very senior people and all that. But then RSS gave me the challenging role of becoming its national spokesperson, a kind of national face, national voice. So I always got those challenging positions. Like I see it as an opportunity and also a blessing. Then in BJP, I was given God-forsaken areas, Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast, where we did not exist. In Jammu and Kashmir, of course, it is a very difficult state. And Northeast, when I went there as in charge of the Northeast, except in Assam, we did not even have any MLA, single MLA, not in Sikkim, not in Arunachal Pradesh. Nagaland, we used to have a couple of MLAs, then nobody in Meghalaya, 4 MLAs in Assam. That was the kind of situation. So those challenges, I thought, should be converted into a great opportunity. Fortunately for us, we had a leader like Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who had enormous, appeal to the people. We were able to put together a good team. We had good strategy in place. I always think in politics that no single thing will work. Many people think that if you have a good strategist, he will get you victory. No, it doesn't work that way. Any number of Kishores cannot win Mamata Banerjee back. There need to be many more things for a victory to happen. So strategy, team, and choice of right person, many such things factor in. We were able to do that. So that is the reason why we had such wonderful successes in areas where I was fortunate enough to be a partner with others in working. Basically, the mindset is what matters, I always believe. That's why I always repeatedly say that, we have a big vision. What is it that you are going to lose? I was addressing our Mizoram state unit day before yesterday. So I told them only this thing. You see, in the entire Northeast, out of the 8 states, today BJP is in power in 7 states. The only state left out was Mizoram. So I told them that now you should feel that sense of shame. That now in 2023, the 8th unfinished agenda will be finished. That kind of killer instinct is needed in politics. Once you have that in you, then you will try to achieve it. Maybe you may not be able to achieve it then, but you will get it the next time. That is how we need to look at these things with brute pragmatism. The word that I want to use, whether it is in business or in politics, you have to be brutally pragmatic, brutally confident. Then you will achieve good results.
So I think in your most humble way, one key takeaway that you have given all our members is don't be scared to fail and take up challenges or opportunities if you want to succeed. So one point I had was with regards to the current India and China debacle. We had a session with Major Maroof Raza last month, where he told us that we Indians feel, and some people keep shouting out that we are vulnerable. But in his opinion, he said that today as a country, our soldiers are battle hardened, they are battle ready, whereas China till date hasn't done anything more than a few skirmishes here and there. And the fact that if push comes to shove, we are more than equipped to not only defend, but to attack as well. Could I have your comments on this, please?
Firstly, I would rather urge all of our friends to not get into this war discourse. The effort of the government is to ensure that war is not necessary between our countries. Wars no longer have any victors and defeated. Everybody is a victor and everybody is defeated. So that is the nature of war in 21st century. So the discourse should be how to avoid war rather than trying to understand whether we win the war or they win the war. Nobody is going to win the war. Everybody will pay a price for war. China knows about it. We know about it. China has certain strengths. We have certain other strengths. See, it will be always a mistake to underestimate your rival, your enemy. So my suggestion would be, rather than trying to discuss about the outcome of a war or whether we are capable enough to take on China, we should be discussing about ways of overcoming it. Are we really understanding the tactics of China? In that sense, I tell you, yes, today's leadership understands the tactics of China better. That's why in my initial comments also I mentioned that today the way we are handling this China challenge, even countries like America are unable to handle it. They're shouting from the rooftops, but on the ground, are they able to contain China? No, I mentioned just now, I told you in my initial comments about how when two ships belonging to Vietnam were sunk in South China Sea, all that America, Japan, European Union, all of them did was to issue protest statements. How does it help? UNCLOS is an United Nations body of the laws of the seas, laws of oceans and seas, how to conduct affairs. UNCLOS on 12th July 2016 gave a verdict telling China that you cannot use your 9-dash line. They have created one border in maritime boundary. They call it 9-dash line. You cannot use it unilaterally saying that this is my boundary. Boundaries have to be decided mutually by countries and also by certain international standards. China simply said, no, I don't accept your verdict. It refuses to accept United Nations. What are we doing in the last 4 years? So here is a country which defies even United Nations. It challenges America, it challenges China, Vietnam. But when it comes to India, today India is standing up to it. When India is standing up, the other countries, in fact, I meet with a number of ambassadors in Delhi. So yesterday we had some breakfast. They quietly tell me, privately, that, sir, we are really thrilled to see the way you are standing up to China challenge, which we are not able to do. That strength we have today. That is how you have to deal with that country. So now dealing with China under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the new formula is proactive diplomacy for peace, but strong ground posturing, not allowing China to get away with its encroachment activity. So while we are talking to them diplomatically, our foreign minister right now is in Moscow talking to the Chinese foreign minister. On the ground, we are very steadfast. We are today eyeball to eyeball with them. We are not letting them come forward. In fact, 2 days ago, they came to the fence that we erected in one frontier of Leh, and they said, remove this tent. They were hoping that we would move closer to them and then there can be some skirmish and they can start a war. From our positions, we said, no, we are not going to remove, you should go back. So we are taking that strong position. That is how we have to secure India's territorial interest. At the same time, we should avoid war. War or Thucydides trap कहते हैं. Thucydides trap में both sides vie for war, assuming that they can win. Both sides fight and both get defeated. So wars are like the Thucydides traps.
So again, sir, I think we can take back that be pragmatic. At the end of it, you need to analyze all your options before moving forward. So one question I had was, since you mentioned the economy and the current status, and you spoke about the short term, which is the next 2 quarters to 1 year, and the longer term, which is maybe the next 5 to 10 years, What is the vision that you have and the vision that the party has is in the capability of India? How do we realize this potential? I know you have already spoken about Atmanirbhar and you have spoken about self-confidence and the need to have belief to push forward our competencies. But what is the vision that the party today has for India, say 5 years down the line?
No, as far as the government is concerned, the priorities are very clear. Uh, we have to uh, create at least 150 million jobs in next 5 years. We have to create lot of investments into our economy. We have to inject lot of investments into economy. Now, then thirdly, we have to now play a slightly different role in integrating with the global economy. That role should not be like, again, in the past we used to have raw material suppliers. No, we have to now start thinking in terms of creating global brands. Now, in all these areas, government's role should only be as a facilitator, remember. That is why it has to be minimum government. Prime Minister Modi repeatedly says minimum government, maximum governance. But that has to sink into the system. When you look at the system wants its hands all over. I don't want to name any particular department or anything, but they want to be everywhere. Today, for these things to be achieved, this Atmanirbharta can be achieved only through you and your friends, not by government. Government can at the most be a strong facilitator. That role government is ready to play. But when it comes to investments, look at the kind of foreign direct investment that is coming into India, or foreign institutions like FII and FDI that's coming into India. It's only coming into two areas. One, either it is going to Mr. Mukesh Ambani. I have nothing against him. I have great admiration for him. He has at least created one brand which has all the potential to emerge as the international brand. But he is getting lion's share in that. Or it is going into real estate where they are purchasing our assets. Where is the job creation happening in that, you tell me? Today we need to bring in investment, both domestic and international. That would lead to job creation. Job creation will happen when the investment comes into infrastructure or when it comes into manufacturing. It won't create proper jobs even in services industry, I'm telling you. You may have, 1,000 types of, those, food supply chains. What are they called? Zomatos in India. But do you think the Zomato supply boy, is that really an employment? It is just a survival, it's just a kind of survival for him. It's not really a job. Real job will happen when you manufacture things. Real job will happen when you have infrastructure activity going on that will kickstart, that will create demand for engineers, that will create demand for workmen, skilled workmen, that will create demand for cement, steel, this, that, quarry work. So we need to look at that kind of employment. This has to be done by our individual investor, our individual businessman. Individuals today have to come forward. Unfortunately, for various reasons, I don't see that kind of an enthusiasm in the business community today. I'm not complaining. Probably many of the audience here also are from the business background. You have your reasons probably. But today, if you have your reasons, you sit back and see, say that no, government should do something in next 1 year. Government will do. But I can tell you that is not going to be sufficient. In fact, in the revival, in building up India's economy, government should take a back seat, and people, the business, the investor community, the industrialists, you have to take it into your hands. That is the critical challenge that India has to overcome today. Today, our entire business establishment has just taken a back seat. I don't see that enthusiasm in Mumbai. I haven't come to Calcutta of late. I don't see it in Hyderabad. I don't see it in Bangalore. IT industry doing well because everything is shut. Everything has to happen through IT. So they are happy. But otherwise, where is that dynamism? Where is that activity in the economic sphere? I think that is the main challenge. We have to again, encourage all of you to come forward and do something.
No, sir. I think everybody here is highly appreciative of the same. I think we all share in your vision. So going forward, I'm sure that at least the people here are going to try and aid in that cause. Um, so there's one point that you alluded to right now, that you were having breakfast with some ambassadors from other countries. There is one notion in India where all of us believe that just through diplomacy, we have practically finished Pakistan. I mean, the entire discourse, whatever the agenda was, whatever they were trying to propagate against us, all that has been killed off just through diplomacy. Can you tell us what were the steps that actually led to this, that we could negate such a long-term enemy through this diplomacy route?
Just as we deployed a very imaginative uh, policy towards China, we also deployed a very unique and imaginative policy towards the problem of Pakistan. These are the two neighbors with whom we had traditionally a very bad relationship. Now, that is another great feather in the cap of our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji. Today, Pakistan is isolated even in the Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC. OIC is a body of 58 Islamic countries. For the last 6 to 8 months, the Pakistani government has been after the OIC leadership to convene a meeting to discuss Kashmir issue. And we have been successful in ensuring that OIC leadership does not agree to hold any such meeting to discuss Kashmir. So much so that today Pakistan has openly threatened Saudi Arabia, which leads the OIC, that if you are not ready to organize this meeting, I will split away and I will have my own separate group of countries and I will discuss it. In fact, several months ago, they held a meeting of Islamic countries in Malaysia. Malaysia under Mahathir Mohamad's leadership hosted that meeting. Turkish President Erdogan was there. But Mr. Imran Khan could not go because the Saudis have threatened him. If you go to Malaysia meeting, we'll stop funding. So Imran Khan, with all his guns firing against Saudis also, could not attend the separate meeting in Kuala Lumpur. I don't want to get into those intricate things about it, but I can only say that this shows the dexterity, the skill of our government in tackling the most difficult part, the Arab world. Once the Arab world has been tackled effectively, today Pakistan is in a very difficult and helpless position. Having said it, today Pakistan depends on Turkey on one side, a non-Arab Muslim country, and China on the other side. China, Pakistan, Turkey axis, with a few other countries joining hands, could still pose a challenge to India in the coming days, especially for those who probably are not aware. Turkey is going to take over as the president, as the chair of the United Nations on 15th of this month. There is a system of chair for 1 year. So until next year, Turkey will be the chair of United Nations. Turkey, unfortunately, today's present Turkish leadership is not very friendly with India. It's more friendly with Pakistan. Then Pakistan today got elected to chair a very important UN body called ECOSOC. ECOSOC deals with economic and social issues under UN. So I would say now OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries headquarters, will be shifted to New York now. because that is where Turkey is sitting in UN, and another important body is to be headed by Pakistan. So India will have its slightly different kind of challenges, but India under Prime Minister's visionary leadership will be able to tackle that challenge also. But basically our approach, our befriending a large number of countries in the Islamic world has helped us in overcoming this challenge of Pakistan.
So from your response, I think you already have a very, very sorted plan for how to tackle the next year. And we're all going to wait eagerly to see how it pans out. Um, so one question, we all who are present here can see that you're a fantastic orator, but we have seen instances where even the most senior journalists, where other people flounder, you more often than not can get them to shut up instantly and with valid arguments, with valid points. What is it that, what characteristic or what would you attribute that to?
I that's my trade secret. How can I share it with you? But having said it, I really don't know. I only know that be honest always. Do the homework properly. Know your facts properly, correctly. Be honest to yourself. Where you don't know, you admit that you don't know. I many times tell that I'm not the right person to answer this question. You should have that humility also. But many times what happens is, even in our party also sometimes, unfortunately, when we go to face the media, we don't do required homework. That is when you will face awkward situation. You end up, saying things that are not expected of you. Or sometimes in Sanskrit, there is a saying, "Sesham kopena porayet." Means when you don't have any answer to give, you will start making allegations, shouting, screaming, fighting. That is called sesham. Whatever is left is kopena porayet. Through cope, gussa, usko pura karo. So that is what you see at 9 o'clock on almost all the channels nowadays. So I don't watch 9 o'clock TV. I rather watch BBC or CNN at that time. But having said it, again, I tell you, in my case, I don't say that this is the model or anything for anybody. But what I do is I do my homework. Then I am always honest in front of the camera. I will never say things that I don't believe in. Number 3, be humble. Have humility. That will win you the day. It's not about winning the moment. Many people think that I should win this moment. This argument I should win. No, you should win the day. You may lose the argument. You may lose the moment, but you will win the day. So that is where humility, humbleness, knowledge, and sincerity, honesty, these things, that's what I believe in and I practice.
So humility, knowledge, and sincerity, preparedness. These are the 4 things we are going to take away from that. One question, sir. Today, I know that India, with such a large population, there is going to be a challenge that is posed by this pandemic, by the COVID-19 or the Wuhan virus. Now, having said that, the number of daily infections is increasing. Do you believe that this is going to die out in the next couple of months, or is it going to be a problem that continues till the vaccine comes out?
How would this pandemic behave is difficult to predict. So what will happen in the coming months, whether it will flatten up or it is going to increase, the graph is going to go up, is difficult to predict at the moment. Anybody may say anything. I hear people telling me that, sir, from September 15th onwards, it's going to flatten up. I ask them, how do you know? Because this one virus is most unpredictable. You see the number of cases and all that today to be 90,000, etc., etc. But out of that, 70% are asymptomatic, no symptoms. That means you don't know how that virus is behaving. Why somebody with no symptoms is also a corona positive? Why somebody with lots of symptoms also a corona positive? You don't have any answer. So all that we can say is, don't be scared of looking at numbers. In fact, I would rather advocate to stop publishing the numbers. Let the healthcare establishment take up the responsibility properly. When there is a patient, do extensive testing. Don't worry about numbers. Extensive testing. If by extensive testing you get more numbers, don't worry. It's not a sin to have more corona patients. Rather, you should realize that your responsibility is much bigger than what you probably have believed. So do extensive testing. Don't be scared of the actual numbers. India is, remember, 4 times the population of America. Yet the number of patients is today less than America. I'm not saying that's any big achievement, but still I'm saying if comparison has to happen, we should be having 4 times more. And our density of population is much bigger. So it's not about numbers. It's about, preparing, upgrading our healthcare establishment. Here, states have a much bigger role to play because healthcare, after all, is in the hands of the states. So states, and of course, the health fraternity, medical fraternity, private hospitals and all that, they all have to play a vital role. And vaccine has to come ultimately. When will that vaccine come? And how much time it will take to take that vaccine to each and every person. Now, in this case, you can't be giving it only to some people. It has to reach to almost every Indian. So how much time it will take? How do you plan it out? These are the kind of things about which we should all start thinking.
No, 100% agreed. So the fear psychosis that comes in when you see the numbers, every time you see the number rising, the fear also rises, which I think a lot of us here have stopped seeing the numbers, like you said.
Good.
So one last question from my side, and then we'll open it up for questions from the audience. So, sir, you have given us a plethora of excellent books. What can we expect next?
Oh, whatever my party wants me to do.
No, sir, I'm talking about books. As an author, what can we expect next?
Okay. One of my forthcoming books is a compilation of my important articles. Some of my important articles, they are being published by Amazon. So that is likely to come out in November. After that is lined up a book on Deendayal Upadhyaya. How do we understand him, his thinking of integral humanism? How do we look at it from a 21st century perspective? How is it relevant today? How should we try to apply it for the 21st century world? That book is expected in the early next year. So far, that's what I could do, because in politics it's very difficult to find peaceful time. You can still have time, but not peace. That is politics. So it's difficult to get peaceful time. Let us see what happens.
So we're eagerly looking forward to both, and we are going to ensure that all our members present here have a copy of both books once they launch. With this, I'd like to open up the floor. I'd like to open up for questions from the audience. Anybody who has a question, please raise your hand, and I'll be asking it sequentially. Okay, so first question from Mr. Adit Kothari. Please go ahead. You're on mute. You need to unmute yourself.
So, Mr. Madhav, thanks so much for all that insightful discourse. One view that I actually wanted to understand from you is Mr. Subramaniam Swamy within the world of RSS and BJP. How does the RSS view someone like him who has criticized Mr. Modi since 2014 with regards to the economic policies that the BJP has surfaced all throughout? He has some very, very constructive ideas about the income tax policies and how we should be revamping them. For example, he personally sees only 1.9% of the population paying income tax. So rather than having a direct income tax, but we should move on to something called consumption tax, where the more you consume, the more taxes you pay. How does the RSS view someone like Mr. Swamy and his theory of economics for India?
Consumption tax is not a new idea. This has been there for a very long time in our country. Both its proponents and its opponents have always been there. I'm not an economist. I don't really know the intricacies of it. But Dr. Swamy is an independent intellectual type of leader So he is also, of course, very forthright. He articulates his views quite publicly. Whatever useful and constructive and positive ideas are there in his articulation will always be taken seriously by the leadership in the government and in the party. Uh, Otherwise, yes, I mean, people with thinking mind can have number of views, number of ideas. Some governments will be able to incorporate, implement, use them. Some probably governments will have different views. So when you articulate a view, when that view is not fully taken, you should not get offended. You should only say that, all right, this is my view. Probably there are wiser people in the government, they think differently. Ultimately, results speak, and governments are answerable to people. So we are open to all suggestions. We are open to even constructive criticism, which we hardly get from our opposition. So if it is coming from our own people, most welcome. We don't mind some of the critical observations from people like Dr. Swami. They are all respected senior people.
Thank you so much, Adit. Next question is from Arihant Parak.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I am actually, like you very rightly mentioned that India to grow further and to create employment, we need to invest into infrastructure. But unfortunately, the real estate sector has been facing through a crisis for a really long time. What would you suggest, sir, as real estate developers? There are certain changes or what modification that needs to be done for the sector to revive itself?
I know that right now the real estate sector is facing really tough time. I also understand that the property rates and all have come down. You are facing severe pressure on that front. But government has recently promulgated a new law that you all know to regulate the real estate activity in the country. Basically, from the point of view of benefit to the customer, in this case, the house owner, and also to the builders. Both, it should be a win-win kind of situation. Unfortunately, what happened with real estate business was that because of the mistakes, you call it, or omissions and commissions, you call it, committed by a few people, a perception has been created as though the entire builder, and nobody actually calls it as a builder community. You know, the word always I hear is the builder lobby. Not even the community they call it. This is unfair. It's like many other businesses in the country. Real estate is also an important business. Government has certain laws in place, and I hope that the demand creation will happen sooner than later, and the business will revive. Some difficulties that the community is facing, sometimes they are brought to our notice, and we are taking it up at the appropriate level in the finance ministry and elsewhere.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arihant. Next question from Rishabh Bantia.
Hello.
Sorry. Yes, please go ahead, Amit. Next question from Amit, then Rishabh.
Yeah. It was very enlightening to hear it from Mr. Shri Ram Madhav ji about the politics and China about it. I just want to know, why would China be so aggressive towards India, India being a very solid economic partner to China? Why is China being so aggressive towards India in this aspect?
That you have to ask China only. But we can only make some kind of conjectures about its behavior. But remember, that's why I mentioned earlier in my initial comments that it's not aggressive just with India. It's aggressive with everybody.
Okay.
Why is it doing? The different experts analyze it differently. some people say that, you know, China is in a hurry. It sees a great opportunity in the current scenario, current situation, because countries are busy with pandemic, they are struggling to, remain afloat. This is the best opportunity to achieve certain strategic goals. Like it has certain strategic goals, like it wants to secure its territory, it wants to have control over territories like, I mean, maritime territories like South China Sea, etc., etc. And it finds this particular period to be the most suitable period. So it is doing all these aggressive maneuvers right now. That's one version. The other version is, Xi Jinping, he wants to remain a leader for life in China. In the last 15, 20 years, they have put in place a system whereby any leader will not continue beyond 2 terms. That is about 10 years. Now, his 10 years will conclude in 2022. So just 2 years are left. So he is trying to mobilize support because he got an amendment passed to the constitution, CPC rules, that this 2-term norm is removed. So it is right now removed. So he can remain for life. Technically, now he has the chance to remain for life. But after all, like any other country, in China also, power struggles will always be there in politics. So he will face a major challenge to his leadership in 2022 when the CPC, its National Congress meeting takes place. So he is trying to, rake up the nationalist sentiment in the country so that his leadership can be strengthened, and he will, people will then stand up and say, no, we need this leader for China to face all these challenges. That is another argument that we hear. And as far as India and the kind of things that are happening in Ladakh, that is concerned, also experts say that, India's efforts in the last 6 years to strengthen its border infrastructure is seen by China as a long-term threat. Like, for example, at our northernmost corner, we have operationalized an airport, an airfield called Daulat Beg Oldie, DBO, we call it. DBO is a Kacha airport. We don't even have a blacktop runway there. It's a Kacha runway. I mean, it's a normal surface runway. But we have built a Pakka road from Leh to DBO, Daulat Beg Oldie. Now vehicles can move, reach there. And also we are now planning to do blacktopping of DBO airfield. So China is scared of that. China thinks that we are moving closer to their important strategic points like Karakoram Highway and all that. So that is why China is trying to move closer to the road that we have built to DBO. So that is another, strategic argument that experts in India give. So there could be multiple reasons. The fact remains that China is in a hurry. I have my own theory, if I am permitted to give my own a few pennies of my wisdom.
Please, sir. Yes, please, sir.
My theory is China is in a hurry because China is an aging country. What happened in China was between mid-1980s until early 2010s. They had a one-child norm. They wanted to control their population. They very rigorously implemented this one-child norm. As a result, their population growth has flattened. Now, they have more above middle-aged people in China than the young people. For example, if you take the case of India, we produce people and children very liberally. So in India, the population of below 35 years age is 66%. We have huge youth dividend. So next 40 to 50 years, we have no issues because we have very young population in the world. Whereas China, average age already is above 50. So in 10 years, it is going to be an aged society. So once you become aged, You will not be able to do many things on your own. For all small things, you need to bring people from other countries. Maybe from India also they will start importing engineers, doctors, and technicians, electricians, and all that, because they will not have any young people in that country. So that is why China is in a hurry to achieve certain strategic objectives, because it's an aging society. That's of course my own theory, which I have been talking about for some time. Needn't necessarily be true, but it could be many of these reasons and all these reasons together. Why was Karna killed? In Mahabharata, it is said that there are 100 reasons for Karna's killing, Karna's death. So, like that, why is China behaving like this? There could be 100 reasons.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you.
Next question from Rishabh Bhantia.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I would like to ask you on the Sushant Singh Rajput case, on the mystery which is, troubling the entire country. What is your take on that?
Unfortunately, I generally decided not to talk about that. You have enough of it through the day on all the channels. Get all your wisdom from all the channel experts. Please spare me. I don't want to say anything on that.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Rishabh. Next question from Rishabh Kothari. Due to paucity of time, this will be a last question. Sorry, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Sir, I would like to know how did you win the Northeast election?
Rishabh,
You are on mute. You need to unmute yourself. Rishabh.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, please proceed. Rishabh, you are not audible. Hello. So I think there is some issue with the connection.
Am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible.
I'm so sorry for that. Sir, I would like to ask you, how did you win the Northeast election? What was the secret of success there?
So, it's not a secret because it's in public. We won those states. Basically, I tell you, here I must be very honest. Otherwise, I'm not be doing justice to this question. In the Northeast, we had very little presence as BJP, as a party. So what we had to do was to look for good leaders in other parties. Now, I would like to tell you quite openly and honestly that in the Northeast, many leaders in parties, national parties like the Congress party, there are many good and staunchly nationalist people there. We entered Northeast politics in the last 15 years or so, or maximum 20 years. But right from the time of independence, if there are people who are holding up India's national flag, there are people in parties like Congress. As a national party, now, for example, I give you one name, Mr. S.C. Jamir, grand old man of Nagaland. Right from 60s, he always upheld the Indian national flag in a most difficult state like Nagaland, where a continuous secessionist movement went on for decades until they came to a kind of an agreement with Government of India and decided to cease fire in 1998. For all those 30 years, even during most difficult times, those leaders have upheld India's national flag. There are many such good leaders in the Northeast. Besides our own party infrastructure, our own party leaders, we also tried to co-opt all such nationalist-minded, sincere and good leaders. I can name a number of them. Today, many of them have become real good leaders of BJP in those states. For example, in Assam, Sarvananda Sonowal, the chief minister, was in AGP, in a regional party. He came to our party, and today one of our tallest leaders, he is the chief minister. Similarly, Mr. Hemant Biswa Sharma, he was a very senior Congress leader. We saw the quality of that leadership in him, and we tried to bring him into our party. That has helped us. Chief Minister of Manipur. Pema Khandu is the son of erstwhile Congress Chief Minister of the state, Dorji Khandu. Chief Minister of Manipur is formerly a Congress leader, Mr. Biren Singh. So why I'm saying this is that we could bring together all the nationalist, sincere, honest leaders onto our platform. That also has helped us, besides the efforts made by our party cadres. Here, I would also like to add one more very important thing, that is the contribution of the RSS and its allied organizations. The kind of work that Vanvasi Kalyana Ashram, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Vivekananda Kendra, these organizations, Seva Bharati, Shiksha, Vidya Bharati, these organizations have done in the entire Northeast. It is something that will, I have no words to explain, because in most difficult areas where there is no access, no roads, nothing, even in those areas, these people have gone and worked without any publicity, without any credit. They worked for decades. The result was you created patriots in all those areas who love India, who are Indians by thinking, by temperament. The work that they created, I'm not saying that they are any political bodies. Neither RSS is a political body, nor Vanvasi Kalyana Ashram is a political body. They're non-political, their activity is different, but they created Indians there. Those Indians, those sentiments have been of great help for us. Today, we have a large number of our cadres who we draw from the work done by RSS, Kalyana Ashram and other organizations. They also have done phenomenal work in preserving, protecting, and bringing Northeast back into Indian mainstream.
So, sir, unfortunately, as they say, all good things have to come to an end. So, to bring a close to this absolutely brilliant and enthralling session, I'd request Mr. Mudit Veriwal to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening, sir. So before giving the vote of thanks, I just have one question to ask you. So you have a lot of organizational responsibility in the party. You are the main game changer for Kashmir, for Northeast, and you also run the Indian Foundation. So you also write a lot and do many more things. How do you build and sustain such work ethics? Can you please give us some learnings in it?
Mudit ji waited for too long to ask this most difficult question in the end. I thought, no, you are sparing me. You are not sparing me. So it's a difficult question. I see, as I said at the beginning itself, I generally don't like talking too much about myself. Whatever I am, I'm in front of you. That is what I am all about. But fortunately for me, you are not that lucky. I'm single. I don't have any other work to do except doing whatever is good, I feel as good. So I keep doing, I travel even during the COVID, ever since the airlines have started operating, I'm traveling. I've traveled at least 15, 20 times in last 2 months. So people ask me, are you not scared? I said, scared for what? I'm happy. I'm doing my work. I would have loved to come to Calcutta to meet with you. At least, these days we do what we call as semi-virtual. Like, at least some people in a room, we can meet. Others can be there virtually joining us. I would have loved to do that, but thanks to Mamata Banerjee, we are still not having flights from Delhi to Calcutta. The Bengal government is not allowing normal flights to fly except one Indigo flight. So obviously I could not come. Otherwise I normally travel. Tomorrow I'm going to Hyderabad, from there to Bengaluru, from there to Kerala. So I'm normally traveling. I generally believe in, doing the utmost when you have the energy, you have the opportunity. I keep doing things. I have various, various interests. So I try to manage all my interests. I thought that's what you wanted to know. Is that right? I'm right, or I'm saying something else? You wanted to ask something?
No, absolutely, sir. But I just wanted to know, how is it possible for a human to manage so many things? That is something commendable what you do, sir.
Oh, Mudit ji, I'm not inhuman. I'm very much.
No, sir. You're Superman, sir.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. It's, as I said, many of you have many obligations. You have to manage your business. You have to manage your family. You have so many such responsibilities. I'm the most irresponsible person. I can do whatever I want. So I've been able to, do my thing, and I don't generally don't disclose it, but I can tell you one facet of my personal activity. I have deep connections with the spiritual world. Wow. Most of the spiritual leaders in the country, I have very close links, not today, right from many years now. In fact, Swami Chinman and then Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji, from them to today's, whether it is Shri Ravi Shankar ji or Sadhguru, all of them, I hold them in very high esteem. So I maintain a very close contact. You know, why I'm saying this is, that is what gives me the inner strength, not politics. Please forgive me. This is something that I'm doing, of course. And of course, my training in RSS has been the real strength for me. I've been in RSS for, I don't know how many years now, almost 5 decades now. So that has been a great strength to me. Plus my generally hidden part of my connections with this spiritual leadership also helps me do many things. But most importantly, as I said, I don't have any other work to do. Only thing that I can do is to roam around and do certain other different things.
So basically, it is your passion that drives you to the success.
Yes, I would certainly say. In fact, right, you have reminded me when I saw that caption, I thought I should say something about it. Politics, what happened in our country is, you know, during during the independence movement, politics was a mission. Post the independence, politics was seen as a kind of a vocation. You can make money by joining politics. Of late, we are also seeing a new trend. Politics as a profession. You will have institutions to train politicians. And those colleges are there today. I come across institutions that want to make politicians. But I always believed, for you to be in politics, what you need to have is passion. You have to have that heart which beats for the ordinary people of the country. It should make you restless. It should make you sleepless. That passion makes good politicians. You can't have professional politicians. It's not a professional MBA or a professional MBBS that you do and become a professional politician. Although I have great respect for those who come out of those institutions. I wish them well, but for you to become a real public activist, not just politician, any public work you do, you want to do a service activity through RSS, you don't have that passion. It has to come from deep down your heart. So that passion is what drives many like me in RSS and in the party. We don't have any other other interest also. It's a passion. It's a kind of a commitment from deep down from our heart.
Thank you so much, sir. It is a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks to the National Secretary of the world's largest party, who has always accorded top priority to reform initiatives. We are extremely grateful to him for accepting our request to share his views and knowledge with Young Leaders Forum. Thank you all the members and participants for attending the event. We are once again thankful to you, sir, for giving us your valuable time, insight and learning. Jai Hind.
Thank you, and it's a great pleasure. Thank you.